6 years ago, my sister abandoned her grieving 14-year-old son and left him on the streets. I raised him during all those years, but now she is back demanding that I help them reconcile. I have some family drama going on, and I need to hear other people's viewpoints. My entire family seems to be torn, and I feel like everybody is making. Those are good points. I want to do what is best for my nephew in this situation. I am going to try to give you guys the black and a white version of this. I want you guys to provide me with honest advice. I want to make sure that I am not letting my emotions harm my nephew or stop him from doing something he should. This story may be a little confusing because I have to tell you guys what happened 6 years ago first. I will use fake names for this post. 6 years ago, I was 22F, now 28F. My sister Abby was 30, now 36, and my nephew Sammy was 14, now 20, and my boyfriend was 23, now 29, and my husband, 6 years ago, Sammy lost his childhood best friend. These boys were so close that LJ would come with us on family vacations. They had known each other since they were 3, and people would think they were twins. LJ passed away in a car accident when he and his father were hit by a drunk driver. I'll be honest. It hurt. I felt like I lost a nephew, LJ. And Sammy would spend the night at my house all the time when one of their moms had to work. Sammy was understandably distraught. Abby would tell you that he started to act out, but I don't see it that way. Yes, he acted differently, but I feel like every parent here would have given him a pass, a list of the things Sammy did that Abby couldn't handle one. And his grades dropped from all A's to B's and C's, with mostly B's too. He would skip one of his classes to hide in the library because the teacher made a memorial for LJ, and I couldn't handle seeing it every day. This was also within the first week of his passing 3. He didn't want to play basketball anymore because it reminded him of LJ. He later told me that it made him sad to think of all the plays they made together. I know I'm not a mum, and Abby would always say I would have understood if I was one, but I still feel like Sammy was a kid who lost his brother. 3 months after LJ passed, Abby and Sammy showed up at my house. Sammy was crying and had a bag with him. Abby told me that either I could get him or she would drop him off on the street. I told him to go to my guest bedroom because I didn't think I should hear that stuff that night. I tried to talk to Abby. I asked her what was going on at this point. I told Abby that I thought losing LJ affected her too. LJ used to call her his second mom. Abby ignored me and left my home. Sammy moved in with me, and it was hard for a while. Abby had just moved away. She stopped responding to my messages or calls. She would call our parents, but would hang up if they mentioned Sammy or me. She went no contact with all of us now. I am unsure if this is true, but I believe it is a few days after Sammy moved in. I asked him what had happened to his mom that night. He looked me in the eyes and told me that Abby said the wrong boy died that night. Now, Abby denies this, but 6 years later, Sammy will still say it word for word. Abby changes her story at first. It was, she would never say anything like that. Then it was, Sammy was overreacting. Then it was, that's too long ago for me to remember again. I don't want to say something happens that I am unsure of, but I 100% believe my nephew, my husband, my boyfriend at the time, helped me to take care of him. And we put Sammy in therapy. It was hard. I felt like I became the mum of a teenager overnight. My parents tried to help, but it was a lot for all of us currently. Sammy has gone to college and just finished his the second year. Sammy got an amazing internship, and my husband and I threw him a big party in early May. Abby showed up saying how proud of her boy she was. Sammy just stared at her before walking away. She spent the entire party telling his friends and everyone else how she raised such a fine young man after the party. Sammy told her he never wanted to see her again and that he didn't have a mom. Now this is where I'm torn. Some of my family feels like Abby deserves a second chance, but I don't. I don't want to let my feelings hold Sammy back, but I don't think she deserves it. I remember calling my sister for weeks, trying to get her to talk to her son. I remember when her son broke his arm and I texted that he was in the ER. I remember his first date. I remember when he graduated high school. I remember driving him to college. I remember my husband teaching him to drive. I remember every time I tried to contact her, she had more than one chance. My mom believes that I am afraid of losing my maternal role in Sammy's life, but that's not it. I have always kept the mindset that I am an aunt. It's just when you have the 14-year-old cried to you because his mom won't answer his calls and ask you, why doesn't she love him? That changes your mind. Should I encourage Sammy to see his mom also as an add-on? Sammy doesn't want to deal with her at all. But my mum believes that if I encourage it, Abby has ALS, and is also asking me to help her reconnect with Sammy. Edit. I have a quick edit to make. I apologize if this is incoherent, because I am pissed long. To make a story short, my mom called Sammy this morning asking if he would fix something on her smart TV. He agreed to do it before he came over here for dinner. My mom and Abby bombarded him. I am pissed already about this, but that's not the worst part. The worst part is that I thought Abby came back because she was remorseful or regretted everything. But no, Abby was engaged to a man who has a 9-year-old daughter. When the guy found out, she abandoned Sammy. He called it off, and she only wants to bring Sammy around so that he can pretend his mom was always in his life. The guy said he couldn't marry a person who would abandon her son. I am trying my best to be respectful of my mom, but I could honestly cuss her out. It is taking all of my power not to drive to her house right now. Relevant comments. Sammy is old enough to know whether he wants Abby in his life or not. Don't you dare force her on him, especially after seeing in at his party. Pretending she didn't unceremoniously abandon him for 6 years, did she contribute financially to his upkeep? At the very least, she should have started with an apology and a huge check, and Sammy would still be suitable to tell her to F off Opie. No, she never gave a penny. She ignored every single message or call I ever sent. I honestly think my mom told her about the party comment. If your mom had done the same to Abby did to Sammy, would you want your aunt pushing you to reconnect with someone like that? Your mom is living a pipe dream because she did not have to help Sammy through the hard times. You did. My stance would be to tell Abby and Mom that she lost her son, and the best thing she can do is leave him alone. Opie, my mom, and I have argued a lot about this. For me, the hospital was one of the most drastic things that she missed. I feel like any other parent would have sent a text, at least. I also feel like my mom gave Abby a pass on everything, despite Abby is not contacting me or her son. My mom has kept in contact. She would claim it was to make sure Abby was alive and safe, but I feel like other parents would have fussed at their child about abandoning their grandchild. Commented NTA, Sammy is an adult and can make up his mind, and I think he is justified in his actions. I would go over and tear strips off your mother for trying to force this relationship, especially given Abby's actual agenda was not to reconcile for Sammy's sake. I asked his bird dad in the picture at all sides. Question, is Sammy still in contact with LJ's family, as it must have been not very pleasant for them. Opie, the only thing keeping me in this house, does Sammy need someone here with him? I am trying to comfort him. I never met Sammy's dad. I knew he was some 16-year-old one-night stand my sister met at a game. I remember my mom telling her to put him on child support or stuff like that, but I never met the guy. LJ's mom comes around some, but is not as much as some stuff is still hard for her update. I would like to thank you all for your messages. Sammy and I sat down and went through each message to help us both know we made the right choice. I want to answer a few questions. A lot of people wanted to know why I was doubting my decision to not support Abby's and Sam's reunion. The answer is that I have had 2 miscarriages in the past 3 years, and after the second one, my husband and I decided to stop trying. Every time I would bring up how my sister abandoned Sammy, my mom would say things like, "You will never understand what it's like to be a mom, or you'll know if you ever have kids," and she would kick me while I was down. I know it was weak, but those moments would make me shut up. I would also say I was keeping Sammy from Abby because I could never be a real mom and was scared she would take him. I let all of that got to me. People also asked about Sam's dad. I never met the guy. I don't know if my sister knows who he is, honestly. She used to say they met at a game, but again, I never met him. Now, the update this morning. My husband Sammy and I decided to go to my mother's house before we went. I showed Sammy this post, and he wants to say thank you to all of you, my family. We're starting to get to him, as well as hearing other people, especially parents, say that what his mom did was unforgivable, but it helped him a lot. Sammy is in therapy and has been since he was about 15. The very first thing I noticed when we arrived was how little Abby interacted with Sammy at the party. Abby kept trying to touch him or talk to him, etc. But this morning she looked up and that was it. It made me feel like she's only a mom. When others are around, my mom immediately started asking if we wanted to get over the past and become a family. Sammy said to Abby, he refuses to call her mom, had to at least apologize. Abby dared to say, I didn't do anything wrong, you were horrible. I am usually a Cal person, but this time I saw red. I immediately stood between them to tell she was an awful mom who barely deserved to be called that. How could she call him horrible when she was sneaking out to hook up at 15, or when she brought a baby home at 16? He lost his best friend. He can miss a few answers on a test. Abby also tried to pull the "you will never be a mom," and I pulled out my phone to find this thread. I searched every message that detailed how horrible she and my mom was. Abby threatened to make her post to expose the truth. Side note, sister, I dare you to tell these people the truth. Make a post trying to excuse abandoning your 14-year-old in a moment when he needed you the most, and how you only want to come back because your ex-fiancé refused to marry such a monster. Sammy also said that if he finds out she made a post on her, he will make a post and include screenshots of all the times he texted or called her and got no response. At this point, I thought I was getting through to my mom. She was starting to read every message and realized how she was enabling my sister, but my sister immediately went, "You exposed my business on the internet." And my mom immediately started to beat me at this point. The husband, spoke up. He told my mom that she wasn't welcomed into his house, and told my sister that if she contacted his son again, he would press charges. Sammy also added that if his mom contacted him ever again, he would find her ex online and tell him everything. Long story short, we are all going to ink with my mom and sister, as well as anyone else who tries to give us messages from them. My mom, I already tried to convince my dad to make I talk to them, Abby, and I have different fathers, but he cussed them out. I spoke to Sammy about everything, and he did admit that this all felt like a setback. He felt like he only mattered to his mom because she needed something. He will be talking to his therapist about that. My husband and I are thinking about moving. This will, of course, take some time. We always planned on moving, but we didn't want to force Sammy to change school, especially when he got to high school. I want to say thank you all again. You guys helped me realize that I was allowing my mom and sister to take my miscarriage and use it to make me a flying monkey. I know I didn't give birth to Sammy, but to me, he is my son's relevant comment. You know how to be a real mom because you are a real mom. What you do not know what to do if you are pregnant and go through childbirth. Exhibit a Sammy. I am hoping all three of you have a wonderful life without your egg donor and Sammy's egg donor. Your hubby sounds. That's pretty awesome, by the way. Opie truly is awesome. I still remember the morning I asked about Sammy staying, and he was working overnight at the time. I was so scared I made this long speech, and they looked pissed the entire time. The second I finished, he went, "When I get paid, let's get him a bedroom set." For context, the guest bedroom was an air mattress. At the time he immediately took Sammy. There was never a moment that I felt like Sammy was a burden. Sammy was even the best man at our wedding. I also remember when we were trying, my husband would not allow anyone to say we were starting a family. He would always say, expanding those little things meant a lot to me. English.